Welcome everyone to our face-to-face 2026 RFP info session. My name is Kim Olsen. I use she, her pronouns. I am the Executive Director of the New York City Arts and Education Roundtable, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my fabulous colleague.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kinsey Keck. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the programs director here at the Roundtable.
Great. We're going to offer some self-descriptions of ourselves as well in case folks are not able to access this visually. We'll also be sharing a recording of this alongside a copy of the slides as well, if you'd like to refer back to any of the information that we shared. So as a visual description, I'm a pale-skinned white woman. My brown straight hair is pulled back into a ponytail. I have on a black dress that looks like a t-shirt, and I'm wearing some brown framed thick glasses, and I'm sitting against a blurred background. Kinsey, what about you?
I am a white woman with large, round, wire framed glasses. I have brown hair parted down the middle. It's also pulled back in a clip, but my bangs are kind of hanging down, framing my face. And I am wearing a brown shirt with a black button up shirt overlaid that's kind of a mesh floral looking black fabric. And I'm also against a blurred background.
Okay. So if any point, if we can better make the space comfortable, cozy, accessible to you, please feel free to let us know. We'll have time built in for Q&A during this, so feel free to put any questions, share things in the chat. We do ask that you remain on mute if you're not the one speaking. That way we're just better able to have folks hear the information that's being shared. And so I think let's go on from there. If you are new to the roundtable, an especially warm welcome. We're excited to have you with us. So we are a now 33-year-old nonprofit art service organization based here in New York City that really our charge is to improve and advance and advocate for arts education that's in New York City schools, communities, and beyond. Our mission states, we're a community of organizations and practitioners that shares information, provides professional development, and communicates with the public to promote our work in schools and beyond. This is going to be, we're going to be going into our 33rd annual face-to-face. So this is a flagship event for us that we're very excited to be bringing over the past few years. It's been about 700 individuals together for this event, and really face-to-face and our other programming as well really is driven by our values listed here, which are continual learning and improvement through the exchange of ideas, skills, and knowledge, the mutual support and shared aspirations of our diverse community, as well as the power of the arts to activate learning and change lives. So some housekeeping along with our agenda. This is going to be our run of show for our time together today. We're going to chat a little bit about face-to-face. We'll share our RFP, or request for proposals, timeline and overview. We're going to walk through our application, which is hosted via Submittable. We're going to talk about the rubric and the scoring, how our proposals that are received assessed. We'll then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, give some time for Q&A before closing up. This session is going to be recorded and again shared out for anybody that would like to access it, whether you're on today or anybody that registered but is not able to be here. And a few last pieces. Take care of yourself. We're a you do you type of organization. You're welcome to be on camera, off camera. If you need to step away, if you want to have a snack or some water, we recognize it's that time of day. Feel free. And again, at any point, feel free to put things in the chat, including questions. We'll do our best to address things in the moment. Otherwise, we'll come back and answer them at the end.
All right. So let's move forward, chatting a little bit about face-to-face itself. On the slide, we have our conference overview. It says face-to-face 2026, as Kim said, will be the 33rd annual conference, convening arts education practitioners for moments of learning, growth, and connection. Presenters share best practices, discuss local, state, and national and international policies, and address enduring issues such as quality, assessment, sustainability, professional development, equity and inclusion, and art and social justice. That's just to name a few. Our audience includes arts administrators, teaching artists, school personnel and teachers, students, funders, and representatives of community-based organizations. They also really kind of run the gamut in terms of their tenure in the field, many emerging professionals, as well as many who are seasoned and have 20 or more years working in the field. They also represent any arts discipline you can really imagine. In 2025, we had 625 total conference registrants. That's virtual and in person. We had 477 of those folks attend the conference in person, at least one or some both days. And then we also had well over 400 attendances for our virtual events as well. Our virtual events were anywhere from, I would say an average of like 50 to 70 participants for each virtual session this last year. Let me see, checking my notes if I missed anything. Demographics, yeah. Okay, great. Oops, sorry, I went backwards. All right, the 2026 conference is taking place in April 2026. Our conference dates actually technically begins in March because spring break is early this year. So our conference dates are March 30th to April 9th, 2026. The online conference is the first week, taking place from March 30th to April 3rd. Our in-person dates are confirmed for April 8th and 9th. That's a Wednesday and a Thursday at Shepard Hall at the City College of New York in Harlem in Manhattan. A little bit about our timeline this year. Our RFP or request for proposals is currently open. It opened Wednesday, July 9th. The info session is happening live right now. You are here for it on the 23rd. Our application deadline is Tuesday, September 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you have 2 full months before our application closes. Please note that that deadline will not be extended. After that point, we will go into a review process of all of our applications, and notifications will go out to applicants by Monday, December 8th, 2025. We will ask folks who are accepted to the conference to confirm their participation before the holiday break. Then when we come back from that, accepted presenters will be asked to attend a mandatory presenter orientation. Those are scheduled for Wednesday, January 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. or Friday, January 9th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So you only have to attend one, and only one presenter representing each session needs to attend. So not all presenters have to attend, although they are very welcome to if everybody wants to join. Just a note for last year, yes, in 2025, we had 76 total proposals that we received, and we accepted 27 of them, so just over a third. All right.
The quick question in the chat, the orientations will be virtual via Zoom.
Yes.
We're now going to go through just some frequently asked questions that we'll ping pong back and forth between before we dive into, I believe, looking at the application. So why an RFP? The Roundtable solicits an RFP each year for face-to-face so that we're able to really get a wider variety of presenters and topics. Although we are thrilled to work as a staff in partnership with our conference committee to curate some of the sessions in response to what might be happening in our world or feedback that we're getting from our community. A large majority is, in fact, sourced via the RFP process. And so in terms of what we're looking for, there is, as Kinsey shared, a really wide variety of folks within the arts education ecosystem and beyond that attend this event. So we are always looking for sessions that go beyond surface level and 101s to help provide content and professional development for those that might be a bit more seasoned and tenured in their work. We're also looking for sessions across disciplines or in adjacent fields as well, lessons that we could maybe learn from outside of our sector that can then seek to be applied to the work that we are doing. Sessions can be presented by people that are New York City based, but we also welcome folks from around the country and around the world. We've had presenters from as far away as New Zealand before. So we really welcome a diverse perspective in all forms. And again, thinking about our audience, though, which are those educators, cultural workers, and administrators at a whole host of arts and education-based nonprofits and community-based organizations throughout the city, as well as artists, advocates, funders, etc. Kinsey, who's eligible to submit?
Hmm, great question. Everyone is eligible to submit. You are able to submit as an individual presenter by yourself, just representing yourself. You're also able to assemble a group of individuals to present together. We'll talk about how many presenters can be in each session in a little bit. Or you can also submit as a representative of a group or representatives from any organization, company, school, etc. So everyone. But can you submit more than one proposal?
Ooh, so each submittable account, which is how we have how we receive our proposals for this conference, is limited to submitting just one proposal for face-to-face 2026. So an organization is able to submit multiple proposals, but the primary presenter for each of those proposals must be different. An important thing to note is that conference policy dictates that individuals and organizations can only present one session at face-to-face. So if Kinsey and I both work at Theater ABC, we both submit to present, then only one session is going to be the one that moves forward. And this policy exists because we unfortunately have a limited number of sessions, and we want to increase the range and the diversity of conference presenters and to provide more equitable opportunities for applicants across the field. So an important thing to note, talk to your colleagues. A question we oftentimes get as well is, I'm a teaching artist and I might work at 5+ organizations. How do we handle that? If you are applying as an individual teaching artist and one of the organizations that you work for submits a proposal and is accepted, you still can present. We ask that you not present on behalf of that organization. So if Kinsey is a TA with my organization, Theater ABC, and with Theater 123, if I get accepted, I will be presenting on behalf of Theater ABC, and Kinsey could be presenting either just by herself as an independent teaching artist or potentially on behalf of that other organization. I know that's can be a bit confusing, so happy to touch base with anybody offline or at the end of the session to clarify as it relates to your individual circumstance. Kinsey, can I present a workshop if I've presented at face-to-face before?
Great question. While folks are welcome to submit any session proposal that you would like, the face-to-face conference committee does strongly prefer not to repeat sessions that have previously been featured at the face-to-face conference. That includes virtual or in person. So say even you did one virtually last year that you'd really like to present in person this year, we still really try not to repeat sessions that have already been presented at the conference. For that similar thing, we just like to spread the opportunities around and make sure that we are having a diverse set of offerings and not necessarily repeating the same thing year after year. So we highly encourage former presenters who may have presented it before, rather than submitting something they've done once already, to submit a new proposal for face-to-face 2026 and any moving forward. Next step, Kim, do I need to know all presenter information before submitting my proposal?
Ideally, yes. So while you're able to submit an application without those details, note that it may and will likely impact the chance of it being accepted. And that's because, as you'll see on the rubric that will be shared during this conversation, and that is also listed on the website, that information is used to help determine scores for proposals. If you don't, however, have specifics, please share everything you can about your co-presenters that you plan to invite, as a strong application will have that information completed and included. Especially if you are proposing a panel, it is very helpful for us to know who the panelists will be, to help sort of support whatever session that you are proposing.
Yeah, I think that's why we try to have such a long proposal or application acceptance period compared to other applications that we have open. So you have a full 2 months to get together your outline and things, but also secure the presenter information.
How are selections made?
So we will talk about the rubric, but a majority, as Kim mentioned earlier, a majority of the sessions presented at face-to-face are selected through this process. So proposed sessions will be reviewed by a review committee that consists of roundtable staff and 8 to 12 arts education practitioners that represent multiple different careers, organizations, disciplines, and tenures in the field of arts education. Those applications, as I said, are scored with a rubric that we're going to walk through after we walk through the application. And then reviewers also take into consideration trying to accept a set of sessions that kind of balance all of the diverse set of artistic disciplines that folks may be bringing to the conference and our intended audience as well. So there's an element of that to the decision-making process as well. And in addition to that, the conference committee is intentional in identifying gaps in topics or art forms based on the proposals that are received and current events in the field, as Kim mentioned. So they engage in additional curation with the roundtable staff as needed. That's why a handful of sessions are not that are set aside and sort of curated after we've done the proposal process. And as I mentioned, in 2025, we accepted 27 proposals from the RFP process itself, and then I think we curated about another 10. Kim, will accepted presenters be paid?
Yes. Each presenter will receive an honorarium of $100 to thank you for your time and sharing your expertise. You'll also receive a free conference admission as well that is non-transferable. So that is for the in-person conference. The virtual part of the conference is free for everybody to attend. Travel and accommodations for anybody that is attending from out of town, unfortunately, are not able to be funded at this time. So let's take a walk through, a little stroll through our application.
Let's. All right, so when you navigate from our website to submit your application, it will bring you to this page. This is the Arts and Education Roundtable's submittable homepage, and you see face-to-face request for proposals here. So you can click submit, and that will take you to the application page. At the top of it looks very similar on this application page. At the top, you do sort of have all the basic information that you'll also find on the website about the RFP process. So this includes the timeline, which we've talked about. There's also a link here that I'll open just so you can see to a Google Doc version of the application questions. So in the submittable platform, you are able to start an application, save your answers in a draft, and come back to it later. But we find that some folks still like to prepare their answers in a separate document. So if that is you, or you just maybe don't necessarily trust the save in draft feature on platforms like Submittable, you can go to this Google document. If you click File, Make a Copy, you can then make a copy of this that is an editable Google Doc that saves in your Google Drive, and you can prepare your answers in the application here. So as you see, all of the questions are listed there. Let's hop back to the application itself. So that's all kind of at the top there for you. And then we get into the questions. So first, we want the proposer name. That's you who is completing this application. We'll get to other presenter information later. So we'll ask for first, last name, and email address. Then we move to the session title. This is the title that will appear on all of our conference materials. You will, if you're accepted, have a chance to make a change to this because we recognize that you may submit this in July or August, and then you are, in February or March looking at your materials and realizing you want to make some changes. That is definitely an option. I do want to go back to our slides just for a second to go in a little deeper on the title. We have had feedback in the past that folks felt that the title and or session description didn't necessarily accurately represent the session they experienced. So just want to talk a little bit about title examples. In the green box at the top on this slide, we have 3 examples of former titles for sessions in the last year or two at face-to-face that we felt were good examples of compelling titles that signify what the content is. So we have Rhythms of Learning, Music as a Tool for Social, Emotional, and Classroom Success. Another was Write Paths Forward, WRITE, using universal design in creative writing. And then we had community building through anti-racist practices. So we like these because it feels like they give a clear idea of the session content and the artistic disciplines that may be touched upon in some cases, or the focuses of those sessions. And they're also nice and brief. In the bottom box, we have a few examples that we felt aren't as strong, that we would lead people away from or ask them to revise before printing in the conference session materials for the program. The first is art therapy with students. Just feels like there's some mystery there. What art therapy with students? For what? Why? Then we have creative entrepreneurship. Again, would just love a little bit more detail in that moment. And then on the other hand, we have our third title example, which is moving free, effective techniques for classroom management and transitions using movement techniques rooted in Tai Chi, Wing Chun, and other martial arts as taught by Bruce Lee. Which sounds like a very fun session, but that is quite long and could definitely do with a little bit of editing down. All right, and we can talk if anyone has questions about this further. We can discuss it as we move to the Q&A. I'm going to go back to our application now. So that's session title. Then we ask you to select your session format. Oh, love this. Let me just refresh the page, sorry. Okay, there we go. Then we ask for your session format. Here you let us know if this is going to be a panel or a workshop. You have some very clear descriptions here of what we mean by each of those terms. So a panel is a discussion format consisting of a moderator and up to 3 panelists who give brief presentations and or engage in conversation on one topic from multiple points of view. Then we have a workshop, which is a session with no more than 2 facilitators in which participants explore specific techniques, strategies, or approaches to arts-related teaching and learning or other topics. If you have more questions about whether your session that you're planning fits more into the panel or workshop box, feel free to send us a message and we'd be happy to chat. Then we ask if you would like to present online or in person. You can also say either if you're flexible. We ask about the session attendee intended experience level. And for the next few questions, we do have some guidance, just requesting that you be specific in making these selections because this information may be included in the conference program and the virtual schedule as well to help participants select what sessions they want to attend. Same for session intended audience. So you have the option of selecting general. If you're not specifically only talking to one audience and you feel that anyone, whether they're a teaching artist, administrator, funder, consultant, could attend your session, that's when you'll select general. Otherwise, if you do have a specific audience that you're targeting, we would like you to select that here. And there's a little bit of guidance on making that selection at the bottom as well. Then we ask you to select all that apply in terms of the art forms that are addressed. Again, if you're not addressing any specific art form, just go with general, no specific art form addressed in the session content. These 2 things may also be included in our program for attendees. Similarly, we ask for the age range that is addressed in your session. Again, if there's not one that is specific, just click general. And then we ask you to select a maximum of 2 session focuses. So maybe 1, if it feels like 2 is appropriate, great. You can also just choose 1. Please don't choose more than that because it kind of muddies the water and we want to get a real clear understanding of what the main focus of your session is. So we have some options here. You can also select other and write in your own. Next up, Kim, is this you? I think I'm passing the mic.
Yep. All right. So now we're getting really into the meat of this proposal. So starting off with our focus question, this is really the critical challenge or issue that participants are going to investigate during your session. Key pieces here, keep it brief, clear, and concise. Going on to the next part is our outline. You'll see that there is a 500-word limit here. And this is a place for you really to help us understand what's going to be happening or taking place during your session from start to finish. I will say lesson plan format or bullet points are welcome and accepted. And really what we're looking to see here is a scaffolded breakdown of the scheduled activities or events that are going to be happening during your session. Although sessions, both in person and virtual, will have 90 minutes, We always encourage folks to plan for 80 minutes because you never know what might happen. You might have a technology glitch. You might have folks that are just really interested in conversation and wanting to dig in deeper. Um, so that's why we always encourage folks to plan for 80 minutes. We also encourage you to include the timing for your scheduled activities as part of this so that we're able to get a sense of, is what you're proposing realistic for the amount of time that we have? Also, as part of this, we encourage folks to think about including reflection strategies so that as folks are taking in this learning, they are participating, they have time to be able to reflect on it, whether it be for their own personal practice or otherwise. And also, as these applications, as Kinsey noted, are read by folks with a wide variety of backgrounds in our field, if there are any terms that you don't feel are self-evident, please feel free to define them, especially acronyms as well. While it might be terms or acronyms that you're very familiar with, we want to make sure that those folks that are reviewing them as well are led into what that is. One of the most, I think, important aspect, as I said, it's one of the most important aspects of the application, but one of the missteps that we oftentimes find is that some applicants might oversimplify in this section. So they might put warm up, main activity, conclusion, but that doesn't actually give us a sense of what's going to happen in the session. So this is really a space for you to provide some further detail and explanation that ultimately makes for a stronger application. Going on to our next session outcomes. So this is really what will attendees gain, learn, or be able to do after attending your session. Again, clear and concise is the name of the game. You'll see that this, I believe, has, yep, a 100-word maximum limit. So we always encourage folks to think about this through the lens of participants will be able to ... And again, we find that in talking with conference participants and reading so many of these session proposals, tangible turnkey takeaways are really what folks are after. And that's the number one piece of feedback that we get, is that folks love to be able to enter into a session, learn something that they can immediately turnkey within their own practice. So we always want folks to think about it through that frame. Lens as they are planning. Last but not least for this section, program summary. So you'll see this as a 75-word limit. And really this program summary is what we take. If accepted, this becomes ultimately what is included in the session proposal. As it says, it's a session summary for the conference program, should include a clear description of the content and what attendees should expect, with a note especially with an eye towards helping promote accessibility and clearly setting expectations, letting folks know if this is going to be more movement-based, more active. That's always helpful for folks to keep in mind as they are perusing all of the many session offerings. We encourage you within this section to write for publication, but within that, we also reserve the right on our end to edit any submitted copy in consultation, always with the session proposer. You'll see, if accepted, there are many points in which you are able to approve, edit, update your session title and description, as well as the bios and headshots for our website before anything is published. Another piece of this is to think about this summary in relationship to not only to your title, but also to your presenters. So for example, if the title of your session is sharing the stage, collaborating with people with developmental disabilities, maybe the strongest description isn't this panel presentation. Participants are going to learn about how to collaborate with people with developmental disabilities. This should add to what you're sharing as opposed to duplicating it. Similarly, I would think about the conference program and website will also feature everybody's organization if they have an affiliation. So there's no need to say something like, this session is going to be led by 2 Theater ABC teaching artists and 2 Theater ABC leaders who are longtime participants and disability self-advocates, or whatever that might be. Again, adding on to the language is really the name of the game. And it adds details about the perspectives of the speakers and what participants can expect to experience within the session.
Yeah, I just wanted to add before we move on to that, I was trying to copy this to put this link in the chat, but it's not working. If you want some examples of like former session descriptions and titles to look at as you're crafting your own, I highly recommend checking out the face-to-face website. Maybe I'll just open it.
Kinsey, I can pull it up too if there's.
Okay. Yeah. If you can just drop the link in the chat to that, that would be helpful. So you can peruse like the sessions from last year, basically, to get an idea of what we had in the program last year. Okay, then we were moving on to presenter information. I have to click. Sorry, I have to click. This is an interactive, there we go, application. So I have to select if it's a panel or a workshop to populate this area. So for presenter information, as Kim mentioned, yes, we do want this completed. The strongest applications do have all presenter information included. So I clicked panel here, so we're seeing the panel information, but it's basically the same for workshops. So we ask first, who is your lead presenter or the moderator? That may be you, and you may have already included your name and email above, but we ask you to include it again here if you are this moderator or lead presenter. We also ask for titles, organizations, or affiliations for every presenter that you're going to be including, as well as contact information, their email address, and phone number as well, just in case we need to get in contact in another way. Then we ask for that presenter's biography, and there is a 200-word limit there. It's a brief biography. This will be put on the presenter profile on our website. And then we also ask you to upload a resume or CV. This is for a couple of reasons. First, it is an element of the scoring process. We want to make sure that the presenters are experienced in what they are presenting on, and this really helps us get a sense of the work that they've done in the arts education field. But also, we do provide CTLE credit for attendees at face-to-face, and in order to do that, we must collect resumes or CVs from everyone presenting, and we just hold that in case we need to show that information to the folks who oversee CTLE sponsorship. Then we move on to request the same information for panelists. Each panel, again, can have a moderator and up to 3 panelists. So that's 4 total presenters, maximum for panels. For workshops, we keep that to 2 presenters. So we can kind of pop through here. That's all of that. It's quite long. Okay. After we get through the presenter information, we move to part 3, which is our agreements. So we just ask everyone to agree to the following statements. You agree to notify Roundtable staff immediately if you're not able to present your session on the day or time that is assigned. That is to say that when your session, if you receive a session acceptance, we will have given you already a date and time slot to present at the conference. So we ask you to let us know immediately if that date or time doesn't work for you. Again, your assignment will be received by December 8th this year. In the case of a conflict, we'll make our best effort to accommodate you. We can't guarantee that a perfect change can be made, but we've always worked it out in the past. One representative from your session must agree to attend a mandatory virtual presenter orientation. We have the dates again here: Wednesday, January 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. and Friday, January 9th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Those are virtual presenter orientations on Zoom. The session allows time for you to revisit your proposal, discuss its content with fellow presenters as well. And we give a lot of other information on presenting and sort of the process leading up to the conference. So lead presenters who can't attend can send a co-presenter. Again, we just need 1 representative from your session to attend. Your session's lead facilitator agrees to inform your co-presenters of all expectations and deadlines provided by the Roundtable staff as the primary contact for this proposal. We do send most communications to everyone. However, you as the proposer are the only one who will receive that initial confirmation email. So we do ask that you let your fellow presenters, if you have them, know that you've been accepted, share with them that information, and just make sure that everyone stays on track and is informed throughout the process. You agree to respond in a timely fashion to Roundtable staff's correspondence regarding technical needs, and any special requests must be conveyed to the Roundtable staff well in advance of the conference, but no later than the deadline stipulated. We go over all those deadlines and processes in the presenter orientation. Next, you agree to meet with your co-presenters in advance of the conference to provide overall guidance on session organization, content, expectations, handouts, and learning objectives. And then if you are if you select that you would like to present in person or both, just asking you to agree to this statement. So due to materials restrictions requested by the venue, things like paints, glitter, and other materials that may stain the floor or furniture may not be used during art making sessions. So if you are planning an in-person art making session, please take that into consideration, and we do ask you to agree to that as well. That is the full application. As you can see at the bottom, you can save a draft if you start to work in this document and need to step away. It also does auto-save as you work through, but I highly, highly recommend that you click that save draft button before you get up and walk away or start to work on something else, just to make sure that your content is there. And then when you're ready, you'll click that orange submit button. We do have the deadline of September 23rd at 7 p.m. That will not be extended, and the application will automatically go offline at that point. So please prepare and plan in accordance with that. And sometimes, technology things do happen. So we highly recommend you submitting at least 15 minutes before that deadline. That way, if there's a glitch or something happens, you can submit again before the application goes offline. Okay. I think next, yes, we're talking about the rubric.
I already put it in the chat for you, Kinsey.
Thank you so much. So this is the rubric that we are using, that our review panel is using to score these sessions. So you have all the criteria sort of clearly listed out here. If you have questions, you have my email address right there to reach out. So the first scoring category is the clarity and strength of the focus question. So we score from 1 to 5 on all of these questions, 1 being unsatisfactory, 2 being developing, 3 being sufficient, 4 being above average, and 5 being exemplary. So an exemplary score for the clarity and strength of focus question would be that the focus question is clear and detailed in articulation and scope. The question, challenge, or issue to be investigated is of critical importance to the field of arts education, and the format, intended audience, art forms, and age range are all in absolute alignment with the focus question. And then there are varying descriptions here. I'm not going to read each of them of what those other scoring levels are. And at the bottom of this section, you can see the reference. So the reference that the reviewer is looking at in your application specifically are the session focus and the focus question. Then moving on, our second category is clarity and depth of session outline. Again, that's a 1 to 5 score from unsatisfactory up to exemplary. An exemplary score says that the session outline is clear and detailed. It includes an in-depth breakdown of scheduled events, the time expected for each activity, and planned reflection strategies. Terms which may not be self-evident are clearly defined, and the outline session can be completed in the allotted time. So those are sort of all of the elements that go in there. Compared to that, like a 1 score, an unsatisfactory, would be that the session outline is sparse and or poorly written, includes 1 or none of the following elements: a breakdown of the scheduled events, the time expected for activities, the plan, reflection strategies. Terms which may not be self-evident are not defined, and the outline session cannot be completed in the allotted time. So as you can see, the reference on your application for that score is the outline itself. Then we have third section, which is clarity and strength of intended outcomes and takeaways. So an exemplary score here is that the application provides clear, detailed participant outcomes, and that the proposed session has exceptional potential to initiate thoughtful discussion and dialogue among participants and to provide meaningful and actionable takeaways. I think that's a really key point. We love sessions that clearly indicate that the attendees will walk away with something. So that is referenced in the outcomes section. The next scoring topic is the demonstrated evidence of experience in arts education and depth of understanding of the proposed session topic. So again, a 1 to 5 there. An exemplary response will have session presenters that demonstrate exceptional in-depth work in the field of arts education and in the proposed topic. A strong variety of viewpoints are represented if there are multiple presenters. If there are multiple presenters are part of the session, great. And so for reference materials there, we'll look at the presenter and panelist resumes, CVs, bios, and then the overall session proposal as well, how they kind of all interact with each other. And then there's the overall priority for being accepted to present at face-to-face. And we have, again, a 1 to 5 score there. And our reviewers can indicate whether they feel we must or should prioritize this application or should consider accepting it. Maybe we should prioritize other applications or should just not prioritize this application at that time. So this all works together to give a total score for the application. And then at that point, once we have everything kind of scored, then we go into our next element of the review process, which is a discussion amongst the entire panel after that. Okie dokie. I think we're on to questions, so I'm going to stop sharing.
I think this is the point for any questions that folks might have. Just to add on the theme of questions, at some point during our review process, once your application has been submitted, we might reach out with a question. This does not mean necessarily that the session has been accepted. It's simply that we're looking just to get clarification to better understand, or possibly if an element was not included, just to get some more information to help us assess the proposal. With that, are there any questions that folks would like to ask? You're welcome to put it in the chat. Come off mute, dare I say, and we'll do our best to answer those questions now.
I have a question if no one else does. So I submitted a proposal last year and it was passed on. Should that mean for sure I should kind of dump it and start again?
Say not necessarily. I think if it's something that you seek feedback on that session, we are happy to go back to our notes if you hadn't already requested feedback. It is something, though, I would take a look again at our rubric selection criteria to see if it matches up sort of with what we're seeking to do, but that it's not necessarily a do not propose, that there are many different reasons why a session might not have been selected, which of course is based on the rubric, but also includes that we might be in a year where we receive, say, 5 excellent proposals about conflict resolution through theater. And as much as we wish to accept all of those, that might not necessarily be something that the full conference schedule can accommodate to ensure we have a diversity in the types of sessions that are being offered.
Thanks.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Elizabeth. I see a comprehensive, clear presentation. Very much appreciate it. Any other questions that folks might have? I think if not, we'll go to our last slide, and then Kinsey and I are happy to linger in the case that folks want to ask any one-off questions. But just to reiterate some final reminders, for our current RFP or request for proposals, that application deadline is Tuesday, September 23rd at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Note the time zone, so the applications will close promptly at that time, and we will not be extending the deadline. Notifications about determinations about your session will go out by Monday, December 8th. The conference itself, for presenter orientation, that will happen at the beginning of 2026, either on Wednesday, January 7th or Friday, January 9th, with those times listed there. And then the conference, we hope you'll join us, whether you are accepted or maybe not this year. Our conference online is going to be March 30th through April 3rd, with our in-person dates culminating on April 8th and 9th at City College of New York. If there are any questions that you have please feel free to reach out to the lovely Kinsey Keck, whose email is listed here, kkeck@nycaieroundtable.org. She will also be the one to email you after this with a copy of the recording, as well as the PowerPoint slides as well. And her email is in the chat too. Thanks, Kinsey. And then feel free to follow us on social media as well, where we'll be sharing updates about the conference, the RFP process. So be sure to give us a follow for any updates from the roundtable. I think with that, a huge thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate your time, especially on such a nice day. And we look forward to reviewing your proposals.